some red print up there. Oh, got the red print action going. Okay, Facebooky time. And same billboard. Let's see, can we go with a delete on that? We sure can. Alrighty, get the billboard up. Feeling pretty good. And Sunday Night Islam show. Looks like the same billboard as, oh my. Okay, I could go with a delete there. And wait a minute. Okay, I guess that's nothing more up there. So I'm just going to host myself, host Richard Slezak reading Surah 2. And let's get that start broadcast going. Bam. Okay, I hope they both keep rolling for you. They kind of went off last night, and so we got 7:08 p.m. here at the Voice of Stockton. And migrated across the room. Hey, microphone's working good over there. All right. 7:08 p.m. XSplit operating and YouTube and Facebook streaming. All right. And continuing, let's get a weather report. We got a, what the heck, Dinkle, and go with a delete, and www, weather, weather.gov, my favorite. Looking at a weather map, oh yeah, today's Chronicle. And the jet stream on their map of North America is going up through the Canadian archipelago and dipping down along Hudson Bay, about 100 miles. It does a big V shape, kind of a UV, almost getting down to the Great Lakes from the Arctic, and about 100 miles off of Hudson Bay, all the way around Hudson Bay, and then going back out over Labrador. It's zigzagging. That's bad, and it's way north, too, and that's bad. Alrighty, on the big map of the United States here at weather.gov, just that same activity over eastern Oregon that we reported about yesterday. And that is the, flash flood watch over southeast Oregon and northeast Nevada. And let's go to a local forecast here, and that is for our beloved city of Stockton for this web radio broadcast and YouTube and Facebook telecast, web telecast, is coming from 231 West Bedford Road next to 2001 Pacific Avenue. And let's continue dealing with the computer. And alrighty-us. And this is as of 6:55 Pacific Daylight Time, coming to you from Stockton Metropolitan Airport. And I like it. They got, it's 37 degrees north and 121 degrees west. So within that fairly large zone. That's about 69 miles square, and we're within that. 62 degrees Fahrenheit, fair at Stockton Airport. Humidity is at 53%. Wind is at 22 miles per hour out of the west with gusts up to 31 miles per hour. Barometer is at 29.86 inches of mercury. Dew point 45 degrees. Visibility 10 miles. Tonight's forecast, partly cloudy, low of 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny. That'll be Monday, the 21st of May, with a high of 82 forecast. Partly cloudy tomorrow night, and partly cloudy at night the next 4 nights, and mostly sunny during the daylight hours the next through Thursday, with a low of 56 on Monday night, a low of 57 on Tuesday night, a low of 56 forecast for Wednesday night, and a low of 56 forecast for Thursday night. For the high temperatures, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 83 degrees all 3 days. So it looks like a nice week coming up. All righty. Let us get on to things, and let's see, can we just shrink that down? Boop. And we have something up here on the audition that I need to take down to export to its file, and that was that's the Dixie Evans and Roy Child did a show earlier today, so that's going into the file, heading to the file. It's going to take about another minute, then we can close that and get on to a good thing. While that's going on, I'd like to share with you, let's see what time we getting to have here. Oh, I like to go to my favorite clock, and that's on the Radio DJ, and it is 7:15 p.m. And we're dealing with audition. And 2-1, bam, wins that one. Okay, here we go. Continuing to march. Go to the close, boom, and no, and bam. Alrighty-us. And gonna put the show block up now, the billboard. And this is a good day, May 20th. Just put Sunday Islam show. Okay, on the 5:20 money. All right, 7:16 p.m. 3, 2, 1. Good evening, world. Good evening, Stockton. Those of you web tuned in to the voiceofstockton.org or KXVS. And watching over YouTube and Facebook. Speaking of watching, it might be good if I got a camera on me once in a while. So, with that, hey, I'm just going to migrate on over. Woo! Better get to shouting. Better get to shouting, because I can't be heard that far away from the microphone. So we gets to shouting. Here we go. Having fun on the radio. Uh-oh. Don't need to strain the microphone cabal. Cabal. Uh-oh, it's a microphone cabal. Must be the FBI. Call Trump. He's for freedom. Yeah. No need to mention that. This is the Islam show, and presenting Islam here, as we've been doing now for about 3.5 years. Oh, actually about 4 years. Well, yeah, it's been about 4 years. Not every week, but heck, I used to get Jimi Hendrix going in between. I'd read a few verses, then put on some Hendrix. I ran some good shows, but with the Facebook and YouTube, I can't be running the Hendrix in between. And yes, I am old enough to remember there was the Church of Jimi Hendrix over in San Francisco, the city I did live in back in the early 80s, and had a good time as a single working class fella. And here we go, up, 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 and away. And put this microphone over there. And let's get to our sponsors. We have wonderful sponsors, and you can be one too. Come and visit us. As I said, we're 231 West Bedford Road, and our phone number is 467-4455-825. Come on down. We'll sponsor you. We're glad to have you as a sponsor. We'll talk you up, and because we got about 100,000 people a month listening to us. Among our favorites are Hotel Furniture Liquidators. Yeah, that includes beds. I think we could use one, so we'll be heading over there soon. They're at 1648 North Shaw Road. Nearest cross street is East Fremont, east of 99. Go and get furniture for your house, your apartment, wherever you're living. The Miracle Mile Bookstore, 2210 Pacific Avenue. Doors Book Recyclery, 2310 Pacific Avenue. Excellent places to buy books. Yeah, hardcover and paperback. Kids' books, adult books for, maybe older people. Kids might not understand them as well. That's the point in that. Although, an old copy of the Penal Code for a 13-year-old boy ain't a bad idea. He'll understand it. He might start out slow, but he's gonna. I think a lot of 13-year-olds would get a kick out of it. You teach them the law, and that way they abide in it. And custom plastics and signs, plastic fabrication can be done by Christopher Cuevas down at 326 East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard in Stockton, nearest cross street, San Joaquin. They got plastic sheets, rods, and tubes. They'll print up signage for you. Hey, it's campaign season. You see some of the work out and about. Those 4x8s? Yeah. And stencils, vehicle and boat graphics. Oh, pretty up that car of yours with some graphics. They'll print T-shirts and business cards. That's Custom Plastics and Signs, 326 East. Dr. MLK BLVD. Millennium Computer Repair on the road for you. Call Sarfraz Khan at 209-922-1879. Fix up your, improve that performance and various other things such as password removal, data backup, hard drive repair. Also buy, sell, and trade old computers, lowest prices in town. For computer parts, that is Sarfraz Khan in the 209-922-1879. Habitat for Humanity Restore. This is one of my favorite places. They're like that place up in Petaluma. They get old building materials, windows, doors, HVAC, furniture, artwork, electrical apparatus. insulation, wallboard, such as well. Wait a minute. Can we get a look at some? You're seeing some wallboard out there beyond the chairs because we did some building around here. This wall behind me, a lot of that is my work. Yeah, I painted that wall you're looking at, so I'm good for something. So the Restore, you want to head on over there for your building materials. 49th, and tools once in a while, and equipment. 4933 West Lane, that's 100 yards south of March Lane. And they're open 6 days a week. So it's a real good place. Tender Donuts, we bake fresh daily. Chenoweth and Son Civ Sam. They're at 1304 East Hammer Lane. And that's just beyond the railroad tracks. And you could get some good donuts, serious good donuts. Satisfy that Donut Jones, 1304 East Hammer Lane, Tender Donuts. And you need a t-shirt printed or business cards. Leaders, t-shirt printing, 500 East Lodi Avenue at Garfield, Suite A in Lodi. All righty. Continuing to march here. It's a Sunday Night Islam show. Come and be one of our sponsors. Be glad to have you. Our rates are reasonable. It'd be more people would hear about your business and want to come buy your stuff, and so everything would be peachy keen. Let me migrate across the room for a moment. We're gonna do a computer check here. Make sure things look to be running on the XSplit, and that is the YouTube and the Facebook. Like to keep them up and move. If I come and move the mice every few minutes, that means the computer stays lit up. And it don't go to sleepy time. Don't need them at sleepy time. Okay, what time we get to have? 7:24. Edition and sponsors. Alrighty, there we got it up. The glorious Quran, printed in Turkey, Turkish translation. 1991 it was done. Done by Turks, well, guys of Turkish nationality. Some living here in the States. Scholars of Islam. And translations come from Arabic. That was the original language in the of the Quran, and it was only consonantal at that time. They didn't get the vowels in there until into the 800s. So, it's not a big thing to sweat about, folks. Not a big thing to sweat about, because many people had memorized it, and so besides being in writing, they knew what it really said fully, spoken as if the vowels were there, the right ones. So that's not to worry. Now, past two shows we have done, we've been reading Surah 2 from this Turkish translation, and includes footnotes. I've been busy soundproofing the walls. That's why we haven't had our Sunday Night Islam show in a few weeks. But it is May 20th, so here we go. And going to start at verse 179. Going to try to make it to verse 237. Okay. In this law of retribution there is life for you, people of understanding, that perhaps you shall be God-fearing. That there is life for you here is an important point. Through this legislation, not only do relatives exercise the right to leniency, but by establishing a major deterrent, other murders are prevented, thereby giving life. It is prescribed for you, when one of you approaches death, if he leaves wealth, that he bequeath it to parents and near relatives according to reasonable usage. This is a duty for all who fear Allah. Those who change the will after they have heard it, the sin thereof is only upon those who change it. Assuredly, Allah hears and knows all things. And we started the show 7:15. Actually 7:16 p.m. And continuing. Verse 182. And he who fears from a testator some unjust or sinful clause, and makes peace between the parties, incurs no guilt. Allah is forgiving, merciful. In the following verse, the text turns to the obligatory fast to be observed during the sacred month of Ramadan. Fasting is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. One of the greatest virtues of this month is that it contains a night called Laylat al-Qadr, that is, the night of power or the night of destiny. In this night, the Holy Quran began to be sent down from Al-Lawha al-Mahfuz to Bayat al-Iza in the cave of Hira. The Prophet, upon whom be blessings and peace, received the first verse, aware of the significance of the time. Muslims commemorate it with fasting, good works, and special prayers. Verse 183, O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those who came before you, that you will perhaps guard yourselves against evil. Footnote. Here, the functions and benefit of fasting is explained by cutting ourselves off from our worldly requirements for a period. Our awareness of our dependence on Allah increases, and we are more able to guard ourselves against evil. Fast a certain number of days, this is verse 184, but if any one of you is ill or on a journey, let him break the fast and fast the same number of days later on. And for those who can afford it, there is a ransom, the feeding of a man in need. But he that does good of his own accord, it is better for him. But to fast is better for you if you did but know. The month of Ramadan, in which the Quran was revealed, a guidance for mankind, a book of clear proofs of guidance, and the criterion distinguishing right from wrong. Therefore, whoever of you is present in that month, let him fast, but he who is ill or on a journey shall fast a same number of days later on. Allah desires for you ease. He desires not hardship for you, and he desires that you should complete the period and that you should magnify Allah for giving you his guidance, and that perhaps you will be thankful. A footnote. There is no difficulty in the religion of Islam. While Allah has ordained an obligatory fast for men and women, those who are ill or on a journey or a period of time which might render the fast difficult are excused from fasting and permitted to make up an equivalent number of days at some later point in the year. Those who are unable to fast at all, become of old age or chronic illness, can feed the poor instead if they can afford it.
When my servants question you about me, tell them I am surely near. I answer the prayer of the supplicant when he prays to me. Therefore, let them hear my call and put their trust in me that they might be rightly guided. And we have 732 here at the Voice of Stockton, a footnote. The prophet, peace be upon him, was once asked, "Is our Lord close to us or far away? If he is close, we will whisper in our prayers, while he is far away, then we should shout." A verse was thus revealed explaining that Allah promises to fulfill the prayers of those who believe and obey, and that He, being omnipotent, can hear them even if they pray quietly. Prayers will surely be accepted by Him, as He promises of those who are believers and His good servants. And onward to page 28, preferably before 30. Verse 187. It is made lawful for you to go unto your wives in sexual relations on the night of the fast. They are a garment for you, and you are a garment for them. Allah is aware that you were deceiving yourselves in this respect, and He has turned in mercy toward you and pardoned you. Therefore you may now have intercourse with them and seek what Allah has ordained for you. Eat and drink until the white thread becomes distinct to you from the black thread of the dawn. Then resume the fast till nightfall, and do not approach them, but stay at your devotion in the mosques. These are the limits set by Allah, so do not approach them. Thus He makes known His revelations to mankind, that they may guard themselves against evil. A footnote. In the early days of Islam, the Muslims held to a strict rule of fasting from the evening meal of one day until the evening meal of the next. If they fell asleep before they had taken their meal, they thought it necessary to abstain from it, with the result that some people fainted from hunger. Intercourse with their wives had been similarly restricted. By the revelation of this verse, the present definitive practice of fasting from first light, as defined by the ability to tell between a white and black thread, until sundown was established. Verse 188. Do not eat up one another's property among yourselves by unjust means, nor bribe with it the judge, in order that you may knowingly and wrongfully deprive others of their possessions. They question you, O Mohammed, about the phases of the moon. Say they are seasons fixed for mankind and for the pilgrimage. And it is not righteousness that you go to dwelling by the backs of thereof, as is the pagan custom. The righteous man is he who fears Allah. Enter houses by their doors and fear Allah, so that you may prosper. A footnote. The Blessed Prophet was asked why the moon began as a very thin crescent, gradually became full, and then gradually returned to a thin crescent again. They were answered with the above verse. The movements of the moon determine the lunar calendar, as well as determining the pilgrimage day. The verse also contains a condemnation of the pagan Arab custom by which, when they were in their Ibrim, a state of consecration required for the Makkah pilgrimage, they would avoid entering their houses by the front door upon their return. The provision has more general application, defining the need to observe prayer manners and metaphorically to carry out one's affairs in a straightforward and open fashion. Verse 190. Fight for the sake of Allah those who fight against you, but do not attack them first. Allah does not love the aggressors. Most interesting. Okay, I got a cord here, so I don't want to snag things too much. Let me reach down and get a pen. Oh, there went my bookmark. Reaching. Little bit of wind around here blows everything around. Got to have some air circulation, though. Alrighty, there we go. Seem to be back. Looks like we got about 7:38 here at the Voice of Stockton. I'm going to go across the room and get my computers lit up again. A little bit of mouse movement. Make sure things are going. Okay, got that okay. And get the audition computer up going. Yeah, 7:38 it is here at the Voice of Stockton. Coming back. And here's the footnote to verse 190. Here the general Islamic commandment about armed combat is presented. Wars of aggression are specifically forbidden, but to fight in self-defense is not only allowable, but is an obligation to prevent the occurrence of tumult and persecution in the land. Verse 191, kill them wherever you find them, those who fight against you. Drive them out of the places from which they drove you. For tumult and persecution are worse than killing, but do not fight them at the inviolable sanctuary, al-Masjid al-Haram, until they first attack you there. But if they attack you there, then kill them. Such is the reward of the disbelievers. But if they desist, then know that Allah is forgiving, merciful, and fight them until tumult and persecution are no more, and religion is for Allah. But if they desist, then let there be no hostility except against the evildoers. A sacred month for a sacred month, and a sacred thing. Two are subjected to reciprocity. If anyone attacks you, attack him with the like of that with which he attacked you, and fear Allah, and know that Allah is with the God-fearing. Footnote. In the 6th year of the Muslim calendar, now that makes it 628, and this most of Surah 2 was written between September 622 and October 623. Our blessed Prophet left Medina for Makkah, now that makes it 628, with the intention of performing the lesser pilgrimage, Umrah, but his path was blocked by the pagans at a place called Hudaybiyah. There were bitter arguments there, but in the end the Treaty of Hudaybiyah was signed. According to the articles of this treaty, the Muslims in that year were to return back to Medina without performing the Ummah, but the following year, in the same sacred month, they were to be permitted to perform it. The pagans, though, thought it a great success, although the Muslims were successful in visiting the inviolable sanctuary the following year. Hence the establishment of the rule of the sacred month for the sacred month. Sacred things, too, are subjected to reciprocity. Verse 195, spend generously for the cause of Allah, and do not cast yourselves onto destruction by your own hands, and know that Allah loves the doers of good. Footnote, the doers of good in the above verse are those who are honest and accomplish their labors to perfection. According to a hadith, the Prophet Muhammad was asked to define quality known as ihsan, and he replied that it was to worship God as though you saw him, and if you do not see him, still he sees you. Social justice and justice in general are also included in the concept. Verse 196, perform the greater and lesser pilgrimage, Hajj and Umrah for Allah. If you are present, then send such offerings as you can afford. And do not shave your heads until the offerings have reached their destination. But whoever among you is ill or has an ailment of the head must pay a ransom either by fasting or by almsgiving or by offering a sacrifice. And if you are in safety, then whosoever combines the Umrah with the Hajj by relaxing the state of consecration in between, must offer such offerings as he can afford, but if he cannot find such offerings, then let him fast 3 days while he is on pilgrimage, and 7 days when he has returned, that is 10 in all. That is for him whose family are not present, residents nearby, as the inviolable sanctuary. And fear Allah, and know that Allah is severe in punishment. We got 744 here at the Voice of Stockton. Going on to verse 197 of Surah 2. The pilgrimage is in the appointed months. Whosoever intends to perform it therein must abstain from sexual intercourse, obscene language, abuse, and angry conversation while on the pilgrimage. And whatever good you do, Allah knows it. So make provisions for yourselves for the journey to the hereafter, and the best provision is piety, fear of Allah, and observance of His law. Therefore keep your duty to me, O people of understanding. A footnote, the old pagan Arabs used to hold street bazaars during the pilgrimage season, where all kinds of merchandise would be displayed. Since the affairs of these bazaars were conducted according to the usages of the pagan Arabs as these prevailed before Islam, the Muslims considered them unlawful. But Allah legalized the practice of sale during the pilgrimage in the following verse. It is no sin for you to seek the bounty of your Lord by trading during the Hajj season. When you come hastening from Arafat with the multitude, remember Allah at the sacred monument. Remember Him that gave you guidance, although before you were of those gone astray. Footnote, Arafat and the Sacred Monument are two of the main ritual sites of the pilgrimage ceremonies. Like the other forms of worship, Hajj also benefits society in numerous ways. For instance, 1. This is within the footnotes. The pilgrimage dress, or ihram, comprising of two seamless pieces of cloth, symbolizes the fact that the pilgrims have left behind all worldly things, their possessions, title, position, nobility, and the like, and stand equal before Him who created them equal. The ihram dress resembles the shroud in which the dead are interred, and the mass gathering at the plain of Arafat recalls the day of judgment. 3. People from all over the world of every race and culture gather together in order to exchange both material and spiritual things and to seek solutions to their common problems. Thus are the divergencies between mankind reduced. Verse 199, Then hasten on from the place where the multitude hastens onward, and ask forgiveness of Allah. Allah is forgiving, merciful. And when you have completed your sacred rites, then continue to remember Allah as you remember your forefathers, or even more. Among mankind there are some who say, Our Lord, give us what is good in the world, and in the hereafter they have no share. There are others who say, Lord, give us what good in this world and in the hereafter, and keep us from the fire of hell. For them there is an abundant reward which they have earned. Assuredly, Allah is swift at reckoning. Remember Allah on the appointed days, after 3 days which close the Hajj. Whoever hastens the departure on the 2nd day, there is no sin upon him, and whoever delays, there is no sin for him. For him who fears Allah, have fear of Allah then and now, that you will be gathered unto Him. A footnote. The following 3 verses were revealed in connection with a man named Almas bin Shurayak. Although a handsome and well-spoken man, Almas was a hypocrite. He used to come to visit the Prophet like a Muslim and speak politely, yet he was feigning his faith. His heart being filled with poison and conniving, his sole purpose was to harm the Muslims. One should not be deceived by the aspect and words of a man, but should investigate his case before entrusting him with important affairs. Verse 204. There are some men whose conversation on the life of this world pleases you, O Muhammad, and they call on Allah to vouch for that which is in their hearts, whereas they are the most rigid of opponents. And when he turned away from you, his effort in the land is to make mischief therein, and to destroy the crops and the cattle, and Allah does not love mischief. When it is said to him, have fear of Allah, pride takes him into sin. Hell shall be enough for him, an evil resting place. But there are others who would give away their lives and their belongings in order to seek the pleasure of Allah. Allah is compassionate to his servants. A footnote. The above verse was sent down because of a man named Shuhaib ibn Sinan an-Rimi. The pagans of Makkah had captured and persecuted this man and attempted to make him renounce Islam. Suhaib told his persecutors that he was an old man possessed of some wealth, and that if he gave them all he owned, his continuing allegiance to Islam would not harm them. The pagans agreed to this and released him. When he was on his way to Medina, the above verse was revealed. When Huzrat Abu Bakr saw him, he greeted him by remarking, "The trade you have completed will bring you good profits." Suhaib then quoted the above verse to him. Verse 208. O you who believe, submit all of you to Allah, and do not walk in Satan's footsteps. Assuredly, he is an open enemy to you. If you slide back after the clear signs have come to you, then you know that Allah is mighty wise. And they waiting for anything other than Allah's coming to them in the shadows of a cloud with all the angels, and the question is thus settled, to Allah shall all things return. Verse 211, Ask the children of Israel how many clear signs we gave them, but he who alters Allah's blessing after it was reached him, assuredly Allah is severe in punishment. For the disbelievers, the life of this world is adorned, and thus they mock at believers. Yet those that fear Allah will be above them on the day of judgment. Allah gives without measure to whomsoever he will. Here's a footnote. Abdul-Jal, a pagan aristocrat of Makkah, together with his friends, mocked the believers. And in this connection, the above verse was revealed, but the verse has a more universal application, denying those who, not having tasted the sweetness of life, find the things of this base world delightful. Verse 213, Muslims were once one nation, and Allah sent to them prophets to give them good news and warning. And with them he sent down the scripture with the truth, that it might judge the disputes between mankind, and only those to whom was given differed concerning it after clear signs had come to them through hatred of one another, and Allah by his will guided those who believed to the truth of what they had disputed. Allah guides whom he will to a straight path. Okay. end of 213. Let me get a time check and computer check. Let's see. Oh my, looks like 7:57, and we're at... Okay, here's the footnote following verse 213. The human race, the descendants of the prophet Adam, were once united. As time passed, however, they fell into dispute, and the prophets were sent to end their differences. Okay, let me get a swig of water here. And, oh my. Oh boy. Get that computer up and smiling. Okay, that's still got 7:57 there. How we doing on the analog input? Looks like we're doing fine on the Facebook and the YouTube. Let me check my addition. Yep, doing fine there too. All right. Yeah, a little over. Yeah, we're about at 42 minutes in. All rightius. Whoa. Okay, continuing to march. Or do you think that you will enter the garden while untouched by the like of the suffering which was endured by those who were before you? Affliction and adversity befell them, and they were shaken as though with an earthquake, until the messenger and those who believed along with him said, when will the help of Allah come? Assuredly the help of Allah is near. Footnote. The way to success for Muslims, both in this world and in the next, is to strive with faith and enthusiasm, to endure all kinds of difficulties, never to feel defeated, and always to prefer spiritual pleasures over the pleasures and self-indulgences constantly whispered by Satan and the lower self. Continuing, according to some narrations, the above verse describes the condition of the Muslims during the Battle of the Trench, and that's Al-Khandak, or according to another narration, the Battle of Uhud. I believe those were about a year or 2 years apart. One was Uhud, I think, was either 625. Yeah, Uhud was in 626. Yeah, the Battle of the Trench was in 626, and Uhud was in 625, I believe. Yet another narration holds it to refer to the Muslims who left their homes, belongings, and their families in Mecca and immigrated to Medina. The above verse was revealed as a kind of reward to console the suffering Muslims. Verse 215. They ask you, O Muhammad, about what they will spend. Say, whatever you spend for the good must go to parents and to your near relatives, orphans, and to the poor and the wayfarer. Allah is aware of whatever good you do. Fighting is obligatory for you, though it be disliked by you, but it may be that you hate a thing although it is good for you, and love a thing although it is bad for you. Allah knows, but you know not. Footnote. War is not something people like, except for some individuals who are born mentally sick, People do not enjoy killing or destroying or harming others in any way. However, some unpleasantnesses are sometimes necessary, as in the case of a gangrenous limb which has to be cut off in order to save a human life, or in the case of breaking into a burning house in order to save a child trapped inside. To establish freedom of religion and conscience, it is at times necessary to wage wars against oppression and cruelty. In these kind of causes or cases, it is a source of honor and pride to defend freedom and justice. In Islam, jihad struggle has been established to further this end. Jihad is not aggression. No Muslims are guaranteed freedom of worship and conscience in a Quranically based state. Only if they refuse to pay their taxes can war be declared on them. When some nations deserve punishment, Allah punishes them with many kinds of distastes, and war is one of them. In fact, there is a verse in which it is indicated that if Allah did not deflect people with each other, law and order would break down. Prophet Muhammad once sent a platoon of soldiers to Makkah under the command of Abdullah ibn Jahsh in order to acquire information about a tribe caravan belonging to the Quraysh, which was at war with the Muslims. They waylaid the caravan and brought it to the Prophet. That was the first day of the month of Rajab according to the Islamic calendar. The pagans accused the Prophet of fighting during the sacred months recognized in Arabia, and in consequence the following year was rough. They ask you about the sacred month. We're in verse 217. Say, to fight in a sacred month is a grave matter, but barring people from the path of Allah, denying him and expelling people from the inviolable sanctuary, is far graver in his sight. Tumult and persecution are worse than killing. They will not cease to fight against you until they force you to renounce your faith, if they can. But whoever of you turns away from his religion and dies in disbelief, his works will come to nothing in this world and in the world to come. Such are the companions of the fire, where they will stay forever. Verse 218, assuredly those who believe and emigrate to escape persecution because of their religion and fight in the way of Allah may hope for Allah's mercy. Allah is forgiving. Follow me. Forgiving, merciful. 219. They ask you about drinking and gambling. Say, there is great harm in both, although there is some benefit for men, but their life but their sin is greater than their benefit. And they ask you, what then do you what they should spend? Say, what is superfluous? This Allah makes plain to you His revelations so that you may ponder. And here's a footnote. Drinking wine or any other kind of alcoholic beverage is, in the Islamic vision, a prohibited vice. However, just because it was had been prohibited does not mean that it has no benefit, but only that its harm outweigh its benefit. Similarly, with gambling, the one who gains something is in greater something in gambling appears to gain some benefit, but since the practice as a whole yields balance, more suffering than advantage, the Lord has forbidden it. Boy, that gets tongue-tying after a while. Continuing the footnote on page 34, the beginning of verse 220 is related to the end of verse 219, the sense being that if you think about the affairs of this world, as well as affairs from hell of the hereafter, you will be, no one could adjust for that. You'll be successful in both. Okay, 220. In this world and in the hereafter, they question you concerning orphans, say, to deal with them in a goodness is best. If you mix their affairs with money, to deal with them in goodness is best. If you mix their affairs with yours, remember that they are your brothers. Allah knows the spoiler from the improver. If He wills, He truly can put you to rest, can put you into difficulties. He is majestic. Why? Muslims are to treat orphans justly so that they never feel that they are without father or mother. The person who is a guardian to an orphan is being treated, and Allah surely knows whether he is a spoiler. Okay. Or an improver. Those who do not treat them justly must remember that they are under the unceasing scrutiny of the Creator. Do not marry polytheist women unless they believe in Islam. A believing slave girl is better than an idolatrous wife, though the latter pleases you. Nor marry your daughters to polytheists unless they believe in Islam. A believing slave is better than a free polytheist, although the latter please you, these call on you to the fire. But Allah, he needs to call someone by his will to the Greeks and to the Republicans forgiveness. He makes plain, which we need to do about. Alrighty, folks, we're getting on here. According to Islam, man is judged by the degree of his faith. In the eyes of Allah, a believing slave and a servant are far better and pure. Hence, for a Muslim to marry an idolater is prohibited. 222. They ask you about menstruation. Say, it is a hurt, so let women alone during their menstruation period. And do not touch them until they are clear again. Then go into them as Allah enjoined you. Assuredly, Allah loves those that turn to Him in repentance and strive to keep themselves clean. Footnote continues. In this verse, there's good news for believing women, because to have sexual relations with a woman during her course is unpleasant for her and unclean. Islam being the religion of cleanliness, men must abstain from such relations at this time. 223. Your wives are a tilth for you. Go then into your inn. Till as you will. Advance good deeds for yourselves and fear Allah, and know that you shall meet Him. And, O Muhammad, give good tidings to believers. A footnote. In the above verse, the importance of spiritual cleanliness and preparation before intercourse is discussed. Muslims are here enjoined to avoid anal intercourse. 224. Make not Allah by your oaths a hindrance for you being righteous and observing. You deny to Him and making peace among mankind. Allah is all-hearing, all-knowing. And the footnote to this, in this verse, it is emphasized that where there is a chance of keeping one's duty to Allah and making peace among mankind, oaths taken previously shall not be a hindrance. Such an oath may be broken without any explanation being required. Okay, the next verse is 225. I hope to finish 35, but that was to the end of 34. Got to do a time check, get these computers up here. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. 56, 58. Okay. Closing in on 60. Looks like the YouTube and Facebook lasted throughout the show. That's good to see. Yeah, we made it to verse 234. A lot of on sexual mores, behaviors between people. The stuff didn't get all that heavy, but then there was standing up for Islam, because he had suffered persecution, and the numbers had grown up there in Medina, but he knew what it was to be attacked.
we're approaching, and so that's what we covered this evening with footnotes. Got a little hazy in spots. I'm sorry about that. But we made it to verse 234, started at 179, and that was Surah 2. A lot in there. So thanks for tuning in and learning about Islam. I am a Christian, so it's kind of new to me. I've read this stuff before, but I don't focus on it a lot, not many hours a week. But I do this show to build a bridge, to spread understanding, and not to be when you understand, you don't live in fear. You live with understanding, and you can build a bridge yourself. So about a fifth of the world's population follows Islam. I don't follow Islam, so to better understand them is knowing about their religion. That's what this show does. So, and once I'm finished with Surah 2, we're going to be getting some history lessons, because back 620 to 624, a lot of things did come along, and so we need a review of that on 620 to 624 in the Hijaz. That'll be coming up in about 2 weeks. Okay. And we'll be talking to you next week here. Let me take down the edition. This has been the Sunday Night Islam Show with your host, Richard Slezak, coming to you via KXVS, thevoiceofstockton.org. All righty, folks, we're still here. And I'm going to go ahead and take down the Facebook and YouTube. It looks like it's operated the whole time. And we got 8:18 p.m. And this just is an exit. Thanks for watching and listening in. And usually something happens. I don't look... I'm not seeing where that's... Let me see here. Wait a minute. Nothing's happening. Remove, source, copy, paste, rename, settings. Not reading what's up at the top, YouTube and Facebook. Okay, and rename, renew, add, scene 1. Let me go to exit. Okay. It's not shutting down. This is kind of strange. Not responding, so let me just bring up the radio DJ, bring you some station IDs. It is May 20th, 8:20 p.m. This is the voiceofstockton.org, and your host, Richard Slezak.
KXVS on 92.1 coming soon.
This has been previously recorded on KXVS, the voice of Stockton.
Let's go.